Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assumed that would also be why he was the first to run after Drake. When Drake grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead. And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in. I don't clearly remember what happened then, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on Drake. Just then, the lights went out. The lights? It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby. So electricity went out. Wait a minute! If it was pitch dark in the room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right? Right, but just then lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image in the scene in my mind. I see. I told the detective about it when I saw it, then... The detective? Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case. Detective Bruce Goodman. The victim. Hear more. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago? Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw? Yes, but at the time the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. A picture? Yes, I think she mentioned that before. Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough? Yep. The picture the witness drew, I believe it has very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony? Yes, Your Honor. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost. Yep, we have the picture. If you go here and present evidence... Mr. Edgeworth, this little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you still insist on denying it exists? Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold! This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident. Please turn it over, Your Honor. Turn it over? Turn it... Ah! What is this? Huh. Yes, what is that? Hey, that's it! It's a picture I drew. Indeed, 2 men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutors in charge should have access to that list. Huh? These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These 2 lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here, where they were torn apart from each other. So, you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened 2 years ago. Only half the evidence in the case ever reached you. What? What? Order! Order! Who'd have thought the picture would have been drawn on the back of the list? That was handed to Detective Goodman in questioning, right? Room. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor! Are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head. If the evidence list was torn in half, there might be more of that drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. Yes, that's quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth. It's possible. Let's see. Is something wrong? Do you even have to ask? Holy crap, he's shaking the screen. Sorry, Your Honor. There is something drawn on the back of my list. This is that thing! Are you freaking serious? Are you freaking serious? That's that thing! That thing was dancing in the evidence room! Apparently the head of criminal affairs used this for a blueprint. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Very well, witness. Will you please testify about the picture you drew 2 years ago? Huh? Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she saw the picture. Emma's picture. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flashing light was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw that instant. To think a flashing light could burn such an image into your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Drake about to murder prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin the cross-examination. Hold it! Did you draw this picture right after the incident? I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything. During that time, the detective team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Grant and Lana Skye. 2 or 3 days later, the memory should still have been fresh in her mind. Excuse me, witness! But can you please tell us why the picture is painted all in black? Hold it! So at the time, you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue? No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright and I was knocked to the floor. You were knocked to the floor. Drake had a tight grip on me, but when Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when I saw lightning flashed. Poor Emma. I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed? Hold it! Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course! This is the exact scene! It wasn't influenced in any way from the detectives. Are you insinuating we are somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright? No, of course not. I better watch what I say. He might find a way to cut my salary. I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me. Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about this picture? Huh? Oh, well. That's strange. She claims this is exactly what the scene imprinted in her mind, and yet there's clearly a contradiction here. Alright, well, let's go here. We're gonna look at something. Alright, well, they say it killed Marshall, so stabbed in the back. Wait, if he was stabbed like that, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it just like it was yesterday. Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out the contradiction for us. What part of the picture contradicts the autopsy report? This right here. The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see the tip is broken. In fact, you don't even have to look closely to see that. But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? The tip is broken too. If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off the victim's body. It was conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Drake was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. Huh? Where could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not have been broken yet. Ah! What's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there. That's right! But what does this mean?